Hey, it's Dr. Catronbone. Today I'm talking about how to help our children eat better. So during the pandemic, I've gotten a lot of people asking me how they could help their children because they have slipped into some bad habits. A lot of extra cookies and sitting around playing video games and such. So the first thing I want to talk about is why do we want to, as parents, do this? The why is extremely important. So we want to think and know what our motivation is behind making these changes. And sometimes we as parents have motivations that include things like we're embarrassed, what will people think of us, our children gained weight, it's our fault, we have guilt, we have anger because they're sneaking and hiding food, and our fear of what will happen and that we can't stop this from happening. So what is actually a good motivation? And every single parenting decision that you make, if you think truly what is in your child's best interest, you usually come up with some really good strategies. So let's think about what is in our children's best interest with eating. It is in their best interest to learn to eat fruits and vegetables, healthy lean proteins, good carbs that have fiber, and not a lot of sugar. Drinking plenty of water. So all these things are definitely in our children's best interest. And then it's also in your child's best interest to love their body, no matter what size they are. And if they learn how to take care of that body and treat it well, that is also in their best interest. It is also in their best interest to learn to eat when they're hungry and not when they're not hungry, and to stop eating when they're satisfied, not when they're stuffed. It's in their best interest to learn to eat mindfully, without distractions from the television or the phone, things like that. It's in their best interest to exercise and find healthy ways to deal with boredom, sadness, loneliness, frustration, anger, and all of their emotions. So how do we coach our children to learn some of these habits? The first and foremost, most important thing that you can do is stop nagging. When we stand over our children or tell them, you shouldn't be eating that, you shouldn't be doing that, you should be doing this, it does not actually help our children. So it is not in our children's best interest. It's actually in ours because we feel like we're doing something about it, but it is really counterproductive. So we have found that nagging is one of the worst ways. So we as parents want to control what's going on because it feels out of control. And what we want to do is separate out what should we have control over and what do we give our children control over. So our children ultimately have control with how much food goes in their mouth and goes down into their bodies. We have to let them have that control, because when you don't feel like you have that control, you feel restricted, it creates a lot of dysfunction in our minds and in our behaviors. So they start hiding foods. They start eating way more at other people's houses where they don't have control. So whenever they're outside of your control, they lose that control and just want to eat and binge. So our goal is not to have them create eating disorders. And our body naturally tells us if we're hungry, we eat. You see this in 2-year-olds. Parents complain all the time. You know, I can't get them to sit at the table and they just want to run around and play. Well, then the answer is they are not hungry. And don't force feed our children when they're not hungry. So what do you as parents then have control over? And you have plenty of control over things. So don't lose heart, because that is not the thing you want control over. The thing you want to control is actually the food environment that your child lives in. So what does that look like in reality? You control the groceries that come into the house, whether or not, when and where you have treats, whether or not you have sugary drinks in your home, whether or not you eat fast food or you cook most of your meals. You have control over whether or not your family sits at dinner together, whether or not you let your kids watch TV while they eat, whether or not you eat all over the home or you only eat in the dining room or kitchen or at a table. You have control over whether or not the kitchen is closed at a certain time after dinner, whether or not there are snacks or not snacks. All of these things are under your control. And what you serve for your meals, those are your control. I don't want anybody to be a short order cook. That is actually not in your child's best interest to become a healthy eater. To have your parent make special meals for you and things like that. So that is not in your child's best interest. So what do you want to do? We want to create a food environment where there are not triggers that your children eat and can't stop eating certain food groups. So if you found that your child cannot limit how much pop they have, or soda, depending on what part of the country you live in, then you don't want to have that in your house. That needs to be something that on, Saturday, let's go out for pizza and get a pop. We're not going to have that in the house. Now, there are some kids who they choose water over that anytime, and then that's not a trigger for them. Another trigger for somebody might be to have potato chips or chips in the house all the time, or to have cookies in the house. So you have to figure out what your child's triggers are and eliminate those from your home, or at least they need to be stored and locked so they are not free reign for your child. But you also want to think about what are your children's favorite healthy snacks. So I have a long list of healthy foods, and you need to find healthy snacks that your child likes and that you're happy serving your child. So homemade popcorn, peanut butter and celery, carrot sticks and hummus, fruit smoothies. There are certain bars like Lara bars or Kind bars that have more health in them than they have sugar. So you want to find things that are around that your children can eat and that you are completely happy with them eating, so that there is not a struggle. Any of the power struggle over what is eating creates more anxiety with your child and with you. So we want to create that food environment where everything is fair game and they feel free to eat anything in their house whenever they truly are hungry. So then the question is, when your child's bored and comes to you, and let's say they just ate a full dinner and an hour later they're looking for a snack. So if everybody's having dessert, then that's a different story. But let's say it's just a random night and they say they're hungry, and you think maybe they might be bored. And you might ask them, are you hungry, or do you think you're just bored? And if they're old enough, they may be able to tell you that they're bored. And so that's a great time to set a timer for about 10 to 15 minutes. That's usually about what amount of time it takes for your body's impulse to go away, an impulse for sugar or treats. And then you can say, well, when that timer goes off, if you're still hungry, you are free to eat anything you want. And most of the time you'll find that when it goes off, they're not hungry anymore. They got busy doing whatever activity and they're better. So that is one way you can control it without controlling them particularly. And then if you think they're hungry, you should always have things that are available for them to eat that are healthy. So, because you know what, if you're hungry, you will eat carrot sticks or celery and peanut butter, or you'll eat some nuts. But if you are bored and you just want a cookie, if I'm bored and cookies are available, I will want to eat those cookies. And it is harder to confuse boredom and true hunger. So we want to separate those out. And the other thing is we want to help our children not only with boredom, but any other emotion we think they're having, whether or not they need to, have counseling about any of their other issues. But try to figure out what emotion your child's having and then help them problem solve better choices. So if you really are frustrated or angry, what are some ways you can deal with those? Then the next is we want to create a healthy lifestyle for our families. And so if the only activity we have as a family is to sit and watch movies or to play video games, our children are going to be very sedentary, and that's going to be their form of entertainment. So you want to think, how can you create these fun family activities? So, can we get involved in learning how to ski or sled, or can we even just take after dinner walks? Or can we start to learn how to play tennis, or learn how to do karate together, or learn how to do yoga? So there's a lot of videos on dancing and different activities for your kids. And so I encourage you to help, coach them in ways to do that. But you also have to get their involvement. Say, what would you like to do? Here are some activities. Do you want to bowl? Do you want to, do you want to go outside and build forts or play, even, playing darts together? Finding some activities that make for an active lifestyle. So these are some of the ideas that you want to work on with your families of how to create healthier lifestyles. And I encourage you to focus on healthy habits rather than numbers on the scale. Numbers on the scale will go down when you do these healthy habits over long periods of time and make one change at a time and build on those. And you can also talk to your pediatrician about other ideas that they have. So that is it. Enjoy your day. And this is Dr. Catronbone reminding you that always looking at what's in your child's best interest is the best way to learn to be the best parent you can be. Till next time.